But this year marks the 40th birthday of the Ford Transit van. Now, that was something that we had to celebrate. Kill him, just for crying out loud. If you want to pick up bits of fluff from the floor, the machine you use isn't a vacuum cleaner, it's a hoover. If you want to write something, you don't use a cheap plastic disposable ballpoint, you use a biro. And if you want to move stuff around, you don't just get a van, you get a Transit. The Ford Transit is one of the great motoring icons. Over 5 million have been sold worldwide. And today, even though it's 40 years old, the recipe has hardly changed. There's good reason for Transit becoming the synonym for van. We may take it for granted, but it's one of the great originals. In the early 60s, Britain was changing. Motorways meant that people could travel further and faster. But there was a problem, because vans were hopeless. Ford's best shot was the Thames. It was small, it was slow, and it couldn't have handled much worse if you'd driven it on the actual Thames itself. And if you had a crash, the only crumple zone was your face. The only way was up, so Ford pulled in engineers with proper van drivers' names like Charlie Baldwin and Fred Ray, not the sort of blokes who cried at films. The first thing the Charlies and the Freds did was make the Transit the best at carrying things. So this floor has been specifically designed to take sheets of 8x4, and builders only think in 8x4. Show builders Westminster Abbey and they'll think, a lot of 8x4 went into that. And it worked. It was the van for all people. It helped small transport firms break the monopoly of the corrupt haulage business. It ferried young rock stars from gig to sweaty gig. The Transit has always been a bit of a Swiss Army knife. But if you buy a new one today, how many combinations of length, trim, colour, engine, doors, shape do you think there are? 1,000? 10,000? Nope. 13 million. And the Transit had another ace up its sleeve. It drove like a car. It had car engines, car suspendering. In fact, it could hit 90 miles an hour, faster than the best-selling cars of the time. Its combination of speed and load space was loved by villains. In the 70s, the police reckoned that 95% of robberies involved the Transit.